So this is Guppers by Brent TNERB, Palindrome. He also made Bart Hogs. But this is Guppers. This is like a little mini god game, sim ant type thing, and that's actually what I want to talk about. Of course, Guppers are made in your image. That's cute. And you can change the color of the Gupper to suit your skin tone. So this game works, you just place objects on the map and interact with the Guppers, who pretty much just consume and destroy everything, and it's up to you to try to repair it as fast as you can, which is a lot different than the other kind of sim games out there. They don't really make too many sim games anymore. We still have some Sim City type things, or City Skylines, which are more about realistic world building. And I think a lot of the weirder ones that Maxis was bringing out in the 90s, like Sim Ant and Sim Earth and Sim Isle, I mean, they had 100 of those things. They really weren't applicable for the hardcore game market, you know, the people that really wanted to have a long period of play with a story and challenge and action, and they weren't really applicable to, I'm not even sure if there was really something you could call a casual market, but, you know, younger kids playing games, because those kind of simulation games were really complicated. I think a lot of that market is now in mobile games, like, what is that Japanese game, Niko Etsune, something like that. You collect cats, and you can buy like little shirts for them to wear and cute boxes for them to be in. And you know, that's about as much of a game in the strict sense as Guppers here. You know, there's not too much of a challenge. I guess you can sort of die in Guppers, everything can fail. I neglected to mention, you only get to place the one seed Gupper at the beginning, and you have to try to keep them alive, and kind of reproducing to keep it going. But other than that, there's not much of a discrete challenge here to overcome. You're just kind of going. Later on, your Guppers evolve into a religious people who have skirmishes among themselves, but that's never mentioned anywhere, and you don't lose the game or anything if you don't accomplish that. So it's up to you to play however you want. And I think that's actually what's missing from a lot of games that are coming out now is a robust system of interactions without a game over screen. You could play Sim Ant in the exploration mode, whatever they call that, the sort of toolkit mode, for as long as you wanted without any ants, just placing all the spiders and antlions and all the other traps on the map, in addition to being able to assume control of a particular ant and drive them around and manually dig out the nest. I remember I used to spend hours setting up a huge amount of food and seeding ant colonies and like unpausing it and running it at max speed and coming back later to see if you know, one ant colony won out over another, or if there was some kind of equilibrium that happened. I think usually it tended pretty heavily towards to the black ants, the ones you play as, winning. It's also possible, you know, in the last few years there's been a lot of walking simulators, as they're called, games about mood rather than executing a particular series of inputs to win or lose. And maybe that's also soaked up some of the interest that would have been on games like this, where you can just kind of hang out and play and feel it out. A lot of those games also have a much more serious tone, you know, be they political or just emotional. And I think that's great. I'm glad that there's plenty of those as well, but I'd love to see more simulation games that are about mood like this. There's something a little tragic about the poor little Guppers here, especially if you watch their thoughts scroll by in the background. It becomes especially upsetting when they evolve into the religious caste of the blue cube, red triangle, golden donut kind of people, and they start fighting amongst each other. Eventually, whichever faction is winning, I think, is the one that spawns this huge god creature that walks around smashing all the buildings and killing all the little animals. And you can issue commands to them by typing it into the bar there. I haven't found any that do anything other than play the air horn sound effect and make the Guppers very confused, but maybe there's a way if you just, you know, you shout hard enough, they'll listen and follow your commands. That's also a very Old Testament view of the interactions between people and their deities. God is up there really doing everything they can for us and shouting down, and we just can't hear, and that's why we're doomed to sin and to fail, which is sort of tragic in its own way. I don't know, I've always thought Christianity had a bit of a upsetting flavor to it. I tried to offset which religion was winning when I was playing this by placing trees near the other factions, but I'm not sure that really affected anything, if giving them more food makes them more likely to spawn more guys of their faction or anything. Eventually, you just kind of have to give up and press the erase button. Maybe there's an ending, maybe there's not, I don't know. If you were going to make another game like this, I'd love to see someone expand the idea of being able to see the thoughts of the people in the way that it's animated here. You don't have to click on each guy and look at his likes and dislikes like SimCity or SimTower, where you're really trying to micromanage individuals or their perceptions. It's more like this flood of emotions that are overwhelming and upsetting. Even when they say something like, "You're so kind," or "I enjoy the fruit," I kind of don't believe them, This is their whole world, and so they don't know anything else, but maybe that's good enough.